Hello and welcome to your lesson on velocity word problems. While one group is in the lab with me collecting data, the other group will be at home doing the velocity word problems. So we talked about velocity quickly yesterday, and we're going to spend 2 more classes, like I said, one in the lab, one doing word problems from the textbook to get a good foundation on velocity. So if you recall from yesterday's lesson, we said velocity is the change in distance over change in time. So our formula, velocity is distance over time. I know a lot of you took Intro to Applied in Pre-Cal last term, so you have good, strong math skills, but I gave you this little triangle as a reference to help you rearrange the formula. What you do is if you know the triangle, just cover up your unknown and you're left behind with the formula. So when you're solving these questions, there's only 3 things we can ask you to solve for. You're solving for velocity, distance, or time. So if you're solving for velocity covered up, you're left behind with the formula, distance divided by time. If you're solving for time covered up, you're left behind. The formula is distance divided by velocity. If you're solving for distance covered up, you're left behind with the formula, volume times time. So, and I also have given you the 3 rearranged formulas in your notes. So for today's lesson, it's only 3 things you're solving for, velocity, distance, or time. So we'll do 2 to the 3 examples together, and hopefully that's enough for your reference for your class today. So example 1, James went to a Motorhead concert in Minneapolis. He drove 735 kilometers in 7.2 hours. What was his velocity? So step 1, what are we solving for? Velocity. So when you're setting these problems up, there's 3 steps I'd like to see. 1 is the formula, the 2nd, insert with the values, and the 3rd, the final answer. Especially if you're going into physics, it's good to get into the habit of always writing out these 3 steps and always including your units with your values, even in the intermediate steps. So step 1, the formula, velocity is distance divided by time. Step 2, insert the values. The distance is 735 kilometers, the time is 7.2 hours. And then you just divide. You can use your calculator. It's not Intro to Applied and Pre-Cal. You don't have to do mental math. You can use your calculator. So your answer is 102.1 kilometers per hour. Pretty straightforward. So our second and our last example, while James was away, Haley went on her own road trip to Kenora, and she drove at a velocity of 80 kilometers per hour for 2.6 hours. How far did she travel? Step 1, identify the formula. Well, that's the initial formula. Velocity is distance divided by time, but we're not solving for velocity, we're solving for distance. So rearrange it. Distance is velocity times time. Second step, insert the values with their units. Her velocity was 80 kilometers per hour. Her time was 2.6 hours. And then step 3, use your calculator. 208 kilometers is our final distance. Okay, so it should be pretty straightforward. So while one group is at home doing the word problems, the other group is in the lab with me. You're actually going to be testing different values or different objects. You're going to get the velocity. We're going to graph the straight line, get the slope, and that'll be the velocity. So it's basically a math class. You're going to graph a line, and then the slope of that line will give you the velocity of that object. So that's what we're working on this week before spring break. So for those of you at home today, some textbook questions, page 207, practice problem number 5, page 207, check your understanding number 5, and page 209, number 7 and 8. And I do have the answer keys posted online on our team, so make sure you're checking to make sure that you have it correct. Okay, good luck with these, and like I said, our goal this week is to get a strong foundation in velocity. Have fun.